Today's unfortunate story is about a Glen Edward Rogers. He's an American convicted serial killer. He was also convicted of related crimes in Florida and California, such as armed robbery and grand theft auto and arson. He was also known as the cross-country killer or the Casanova killer. He was convicted of first-degree murder at 2 separate trials and deaths of 2 women. The first in Florida in the year of 1997 and the second in California in June of 1999. He is a suspect in numerous other murders throughout the United States. After a crime spree that began on September 28, 1995, with Rogers' first authoritatively established murder, he was featured on the FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list. Back in the day, Rogers was born and raised in Hamilton, Ohio. He was one of the 7 children born to Edna and Claude Rogers. Among the siblings is a brother, Clay. Their father, Claude, was a hydro pump operator at the local Champion Paper Company. Rogers was expelled from his junior high school before he was the age of 16. Sometimes after his expulsion, his 14-year-old girlfriend, Deborah Ann Nix, got pregnant. The young couple married. They had another child together in the year of 1981 and the year of 1983. Nix filed for divorce, allegedly physical abuse by Rogers. Authorities and police in Hamilton, Ohio, suspected Roger of fatally stabbing or strangling an elderly woman in the city in 1993. Later, Rogers moved away from Ohio, surfacing back in California. In the year of 1995, he was named as a suspect in the murders of 4 women that year in California, Mississippi, Florida, and Louisiana. After being arrested in Kentucky on November 13th, Rogers originally told police he had committed nearly 70 murders. He recanted his statement. He said he was joking and had not committed any murders. On January 10th, year 1994, police recovered the remains of 71-year-old Mark Peters, a retired electrician and veteran, in a cabin belonging to the family of Glen Rogers in Bettyville, Kentucky. Peters had earlier taken Glen Rogers in and allowed him to share his home in Hamilton before October, year of 1993. That month, Peters was reporting missing, along with his car and several valuable personal items, including antiques, guns, and a collection of coins. Rogers suddenly disappeared. On September 28th, year 1995, Sandra Gallagher, a 33-year-old mother of 3, was seen to encounter Rogers at McRed's Bar in Van Nuys, California. The next day, Gallagher's badly burned corpse was found in her truck parked near Rogers' Van Nuys apartment. She was found to have been strangled. Authorities allege that after murdering Gallagher, Rogers fled to the southeast, living for a time in Mississippi, Florida, and Louisiana. In each state, he was suspected of murder of another woman. On November 5th, year 1995, Cribbs was seen leaving the Showtown Bar in Glipston, Florida with Rogers. A bartender told police that Rogers had brought drinks for Cribbs and her friends. Later, he asked Cribbs for a ride. 2 days later, a member of the cleaning staff at the Tampa 8 Inn discovered Cribbs' body in a bathtub, like that of Price in Mississippi. She had been stabbed in the chest and her buttocks. A clerk of the hotel told authorities that Rogers had arrived at the motel a few days before the murder. On November 5th, Rogers had paid for an extra night and asked that his room not be cleaned. The clerk saw Rogers putting his belongings into a white Ford Festiva. The next day, Cribbs' wallet was discovered at a rest area in North Florida. Police found the fingerprints lifted from the wallet, and the motel room matched those of Mr. Rogers. On November 13th, Rogers was arrested in Kentucky while driving Cribbs' car. He claimed that Cribbs had linked him to him and that she was alive when he left Tampa. On July 11th, year 1997, Rogers was convicted in Florida and sentenced to death for the murder of Tina Marie Cribbs. He was incarcerated in Union Correctional Institution on death row. A lady of Andy Jill Sutton. She was a known acquaintance of Rogers in Louisiana. Her slashed body was found on November 9th, 1995, on a punctured waterbed in her apartment in Bossier City, Louisiana. The four women shared similarities in appearance. Each had reddish hair and was in their 30s. After being convicted and sentenced to death for Cribbs' murder, Rogers was scheduled to be executed on Valentine's Day, the year of 1999 in Florida. He has filed various appeals, but these all have been denied. Rogers is still being held on death row at Union Correctional Institution in Rayford, Florida. After his trial, he appealed his conviction to the Florida Supreme Court, claiming that the state had not presented enough evidence to support the charges. Rogers was argued that the trial court should have granted the defense's motions for a mistrial because of a witness who allowed to testify about a misdemeanor for which Rogers was convicted in California. He claimed the prosecution was allowed to present an improper argument during closing arguments. His appeal was delayed until March year 2001 and was ultimately denied. In April, the year 2005, Rogers filed another appeal. It was denied in the year 2011. It was his last appeal. In the year of 2012, on a documentary entitled My Brother the Serial Killer, it examined Rogers' crimes and included claims that Rogers had killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman in California in the year of 1994. According to Rogers' brother Clay, Rogers claimed that before the murders, he had met Brown and was going to take her down. During a lengthy correspondence that began in the year 2009 between Rogers and criminal profiler Anthony Meow, Rogers wrote and created paintings about his involvement with the murders. During a prison meeting between the two, Rogers claimed O.J. Simpson hired him to break into Nicole Simpson's house and steal some expensive jewelry. He said that Simpson had told him, "You may have to kill the bitch." Rogers' family stated that he had informed them that he had been working for Nicole Simpson in the year of 1994 and that he had made verbal threats about her to them. Rogers later spoke to a criminal profiler about the Goldman-Simpson murders, providing details about the crime and remarking that he had been hired by O.J. Simpson to steal a pair of earrings and potentially murder Nicole. The LAPD responded to the documentary as follows. "We know who killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. We have no reason to believe that Mr. Rogers was involved." Fred Goldman, father of Ron Goldman, stated, "The overwhelming evidence at the criminal trial proved that one and only one person murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. That person is O.J. Simpson, definitely not Glen Rogers." I hope you enjoy this unfortunate story. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. And once again, we bring it to you.